everybody. Welcome to Run and Code, humor in South Texas law enforcement, where we find the funny in modern law enforcement. I'm your host, T-Bone. With me, as always, is my partner, J-Man. J-Man, how you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Well, today, J-Man, we're going to talk about mental health. Now, you're probably asking yourself, listener, well, how's that funny? And if we were doing it in the strictest medical sense, it's not. But we're cops, so we see the funny, and we see it first. Because when people call for help, we're the first ones that arrive on scene. Now, as a disclaimer, off the top, I don't want to offend anybody in 2023, and they cry. Mental health by itself is not funny. Okay, and we always obviously want people to get the help they need. That's what we're here for. It's the things they do that are funny. Okay, but bear in mind, even sane people do amazingly stupid and funny things. Like, this is a human thing. Okay, this is not just a mental health thing. This is a human thing. But you're a cop. I'm a cop. We have seen the funniest shit you can imagine from people undergoing mental health crisis, or people who are schizophrenic or bipolar or schizoaffective, you name it. We've dealt with it all. And then there's things we've dealt with where they named it something that I don't think exists. I'll give you a great example. Oppositional defiance disorder in kids. There's no such thing as oppositional defiance disorder. That's a shithead that needs his ass beat. That's what that is. That's a kid that never got spanked. That's not just a 12-year-old and he has a problem with authority. No, you're a parent who did a crappy job. Spank his ass. And I guarantee you, you'll cure it. My mom cured my ODD with one belt smack. Problem solved. All of a sudden, I'm a very respectful child. It's amazing how that works.
Oh, yeah.
But there are truly mental health crises out there. There is bipolar, schizophrenia, schizoaffective, depression, anxiety. These things are real, and they exist. Do I think sometimes it gets overused? I think it does sometimes. Yeah. And we've dealt with people who overuse it, and we've dealt with people who are truly in crisis. Now, the ones who are truly in crisis, I'm not making fun of them at all. They need help, and we're more than happy. We can do what's called, for the civilians that don't know, what's called emergency detention, and we'll get them to a hospital. They're not in trouble. They're not going to jail. No criminal charges. We get them help before they hurt themselves or somebody else. And we ultimately don't want anyone to hurt themselves. But it's the things they do, and I'll give you a great example. Just one of a million that every officer here will laugh about and recognize is the guy naked, covered in peanut butter, running around an intersection. That's just a small example. And then when you finally do get a hold of him, and you're both covered in peanut butter because you finally got him in handcuffs to protect himself because you run around in traffic, you're both covered in peanut butter. Now, that's not funny at the time. Uniform's trashed. You're done for the night. Later, you can laugh about it. Okay, that's funny.
Yeah.
Not funny at the night.
No.
Because I'm covered in peanut butter. Now, my dog is really happy to see me when I get home. Or the people that, and I mean, I pulled them over on traffic stops, and they start going off into left field. I'm like, I stopped you because X, Y, Z. And they like, aliens are coming, and Elvis is driving the ship. And you're like, the hell? I'm sorry? Like, you should be wearing a tinfoil hat, dude. You know? And I have dealt with the ones who actually wear tinfoil hats. I have gone to houses where somebody's wearing a tinfoil hat, or they've covered every window in tinfoil.
I've seen a small room in tinfoil.
Yeah, that's their safe room, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they go in there when they feel that they're being watched, and they go into that room. I've seen that. This one guy had his entire house, every window covered in tinfoil, every single one. He had the house pitch black. I had my flashlight on inside his house. He wouldn't let me turn on a light. It was the weirdest thing. And he was wearing a tinfoil hat. It was actually a very nice tinfoil hat. I don't know how he got it so smooth, but hey, okay, man. Do you? I talked with him for a good 20 minutes. And the reason why I was there is because his family called in a welfare check on him. Okay, I'll go check him. I'll go check on him, make sure he's okay. And I knocked on the door, and who's there? Well, and I identified myself and told him your sister was worried about you. I just want to make sure you're okay. May I come in and talk to you? And he'd come in quick and close the door. Okay, so I came in quick, shut the door, and it's pitch black. I whipped out my flashlight real quick and turned it on. He goes, "Turn that out." I said, "Well, no, sir, for my safety, I'm not going to turn it out. I'll just point it at the floor." And I said, "Well, can we turn on a light?" "No, we can't turn on a light because they're watching me." "Who's watching you?" "It was aliens. It was CIA. It was Elvis." I was like, okay. But he wasn't homicidal. He wasn't suicidal. And he wasn't decompensating. So there's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
He does not meet the criteria. And I offered, I said, I couldn't take you to a hospital, but I couldn't force it because he wasn't unstable.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. He was taking his meds. He was showered. He'd been eating. He'd been sleeping. Okay. Well, I sat and shouted with him for a while, but it was probably one of the funniest conversations I've ever had. I was just like, okay. Now, we don't buy into their hallucinations. And Every rookie officer is told this. Do not buy into their hallucinations. They tell you, you see that guy over there? Don't turn around and say, yeah, I see him. Don't do that.
Yeah, no. It's not
They're
good.
not stupid. They may be having a mental crisis. They're not stupid. They know they're hallucinating. And if they feel that you're humoring them, you're going to get a fairly negative reaction.
Mm-hmm.
So I never did that. I would tell them, I'm sorry, sir. I don't see it. I believe you do. I don't. What do you see? And they will tell you, oh, it's a man wearing a hat or whatever, dancing in the corner. Okay. People, it is not illegal to be in crisis. And we've had people, I need you to arrest him because he's schizophrenic. Okay, that's not against the law, and it's a medical problem, not a criminal one. But some people believe that people under mental health crisis need to go to jail. Well, that's the last place they need to go.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that is not going to improve a damn thing. One, if they already have anxiety, it's going to go through the ceiling because now they're in jail, surrounded by people who actually do need to be there.
Mm-hmm.
No, we're going to take them to a hospital. We're going to get them help. We're going to make sure that they get seen. We're not going to just leave them hanging like that. And, well, have a nice night. We have resources in law enforcement that we can help. But you can't tell me in all your years as a cop, you've never seen a hilarious mental health episode that when it was done, you just had to laugh. You're not laughing at them because that's not cool. But we're laughing at what they did. Like, okay, now that was funny.
There's a guy who he hasn't in a while, but he will routinely just call 911 or he just call non-emergency. But he just called just to talk and to just tell us that there were a lot of things happening that wasn't. So one time, early in the morning, he heard the garbage truck, picking up the cans, emptying garbage. And he thought that it was monkeys outside his window. And he also thought that someone was driving around crashing cars. And we were like,
well, the second one, maybe.
Yeah, so the second one, but the first one, like, well, we don't know anybody in that neighborhood that has a monkey because I'm pretty sure it'd be a city ordinance violation.
Was he watching Wizard of Oz and the flying monkeys?
But then I was like, car crashes, like, plausible. But then we thought to ourselves, wait a minute, who's calling? It's this guy. And like, the time of the morning it is, like, dude, I bet you it's the garbage truck. So sure enough, drive over there. And you could just wait. You can hear the the beat and just the crunch of. Hey man, look, it's the garbage truck you're hearing, and then he'll try to sit there and talk to you for hours, like, yeah, and then just about anything that's happened to come into mind, and the cadence in which he talks is, yeah, well, I'm just like, no. Is there anything I can help you with now? Well, okay, I'm going. Bye bye. And then you just go ahead and you leave, and I'm just like, well.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Yeah.
Everybody, that was Alexa. Say what's up to Alexa.
Yeah, Alexa, thank you very much for chiming in with your 2 cents. I'm going to tell this story. I'm going to leave out the department. I'm going to protect the name of the department to protect the stupid. Mm-hmm. This lady had been calling, and the only reason this one falls in this episode is because what they thought she was, and she was not. How this woman did not sue this agency and win because she had a Loctite case. She kept calling saying there was aliens in her attic, and they would get over there and they would ED her and just take her down to whatever hospital they were told to take her to. This must have gone on for a while, and she just got to where she was resigned. She was like, aliens live in the attic, but you're going to take me on an ED anyway. And they would. A smart officer was like, well, let me humor her. Well, there was a family of illegal aliens in her attic this whole time. They made a home in her attic. They were eating her food. They were walking around her house when she wasn't home, disturbing things. So the whole time, she was telling the truth. There were aliens in her attic. They were just illegal aliens from south of the border.
How does that happen?
Lazy officers. Okay, you're mental. Turn around. We're going to take you to the hospital. That's horrifying.
No, yeah, it is.
I mean, someone should just gone up there. Let me help you out. And holy shit. And there was a family of illegal aliens living in the attic that had been coming down and taking her food. And every officer that ED'd her must have felt about that tall when it was all said and done.
Oh, yeah.
Because you didn't bother to do your most basic job.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
But they should have asked some questions like, well, what do you mean? What kind of aliens? I mean, the woman kept referring to them as aliens. So they're thinking, okay, aliens, whoo, crazy nuts. Let's get her out of here.
Yeah.
If she'd have said there is a family living in my attic, that's actually happened before, that might have, well, let me go up there and take a look. And this officer actually went up and did his job and looked up there. And there was. So that department owed her a huge apology.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I guess this woman had a great sense of humor because she never sued the agency. Because I would have absolutely sued the agency for all those emergency detentions. Now she's got this long mental health record when she did not have a mental health illness. Now, that's funny until it's you.
Yeah.
Then it stops being funny, or it's a family member.
Mm-hmm.
So, officers, listen to this. It can be funny, but be thorough because you are taking someone's rights. You are taking them into custody, and you are depriving them of the liberty to move around as they will because you're taking them to the hospital, sometimes against their will where they don't want to go and you have no choice. Do ask questions. Be thorough. Don't just take it at face value what they say. Investigate. You might be surprised one day. Instead of violating someone's rights, you might actually solve a case, a crime. Now, granted, law enforcement, we're not ICE. And I tell people this all the time on traffic stops. And they pick, oh, sir, I'm illegal. I don't care. I'm not ICE. I really don't. I'm looking for a license. You got a license? I don't care about your immigration status. I really don't. America is the land of opportunity. Just come here right. Other than that, welcome. I don't care. This whole country is founded on immigrants. Mm-hmm. So I'm Irish. My family came over on a boat in probably the early 1900s. Just do it the right way. But as far as law enforcement is concerned, most officers I know don't care about illegal immigration.
Yeah,
just don't. We have other things to worry about. That's Homeland Security, Border Patrol, and Customs job. That's not ours. That's a government problem. I think local, not global. You do your job and I'll do mine. My job is, hey, you're speeding, you got your license? No, okay, here's a citation for speeding and no license, bye. And that's the whole conversation. Because they're not going anywhere. So whether they're in fact citizens or not, they're human beings. So who cares? And if they become a victim of something, you better be there for them. Whether they're here legally or not, it does not matter. They're a victim at this point. So you treat them like a victim. You do not treat them like a turd because they're not from here.
Yeah.
So now, obviously, we don't need to import any criminals from other countries. We have our own. Thank you. They're homegrown. We don't need to bring them over. That's why I do agree that background checks should be done and show me you're going to have a job here and show me you're going to provide for yourself. And then welcome to America, man. This is a great country. You can go from nothing to a billionaire. And you go right from a billionaire to nothing just as fast. But we're not going to import criminals from other countries. That's where I do kind of draw the line. We have our own. Thank you. We got a plenty. So, but back to mental health. With someone who is truly having a crisis, it's not funny. But the things they do will be funny. The things they say, the clothes they wear, or none at all. You'll get the call. I know you've heard it. I've heard it. I've seen it. You've seen it. Naked man running around the intersection with a banana on his head. Like, what the hell? And you get there, and there's genuinely a naked man with a banana on his head running around the intersection. And you're like, oh, why me?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And so now you're on TikTok or you're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, chasing this naked man around the intersection. And then if you have the misfortune to have to tackle him, you just tackled a naked man with a banana on his head in the middle of an intersection. You're going to be on the news. You're going to be on social media. Just come to grips with it now. And no, guys, don't tase him. Please don't do that.
Be the last thing you do. Don't.
He's in a mental health crisis. He's not being a criminal. There's no reason to do that. Tasers have their place. Yes, violence, mental health crises can be violent. Let me specify. That is not the rule, though. That's not the norm. Usually they are not violent. If you start treating them like crap, though, or humoring them, you may get a violent response.
Yeah.
If you talk to them like a person, crisis or not, they will understand that, and most of them will be calm and they will talk to you. Mm-hmm. And along that same vein is suicidal subjects. If you got to stand there for an hour and talk them down, then stand there for an hour and talk them down. It is better than standing there with their body.
Yeah.
And they're not the only ones. There's law enforcement officers who go through mental health crisis or suicidal. The stuff we see in this job, some people, as my dad used to call it, his cup runneth over. Mm-hmm. Some people stay too long and it just gets to them. They don't ask for help because we're in the kind of job where you don't really ask for help because it's seen as a sign of weakness.
Very true. That's absolutely true.
Now that is starting to change. You're starting to see a change, and it's good. It's a much needed change where people are focusing on mental health now, like realizing that burying it doesn't fix it. it's there. So you either better address it or you're going to be attending another funeral.
Yeah.
I tell every officer, man, if you need to talk, just tell me. I'll stand there for an hour. I will not turn my back on anybody that's suicidal, especially a fellow officer. We see too much to let an officer go out that way.
Yeah.
You know, we survive day in and day out traffic stops, raids, you know, calls for service with violent, dangerous subjects to let an officer kill himself when they could be helped.
Yeah.
And so luckily, a lot of agencies are getting smarter about that. They're hiring psychologists and chaplains and encouraging officers to go get help and giving them time off when they need it. And this is great, but we have a long way to go because there's still the underlying, you know, thought process is, hey, boys don't cry. You know, you don't need help. You're fine. You're a grown man. Figure it out. Go have a beer. Deal with it. See you tomorrow. And then officer goes home and kills himself with their service weapon.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to explain.
Oh, yeah, especially.
So I encourage anybody, if you are having problems, please don't just stay quiet. Brothers, sisters, don't stay quiet and keep that to yourself because there is no happy ending there. And everybody's going to be wondering why they didn't help more, what they could have done. Let us help you. Because one day it might be you.
Yeah, no.
You don't know what the future holds.
Yeah.
The stuff we see backs up on you. And you find for 19 years, and the 20th year all of a sudden just overflows. I mean, there's no time frame to this. Some people can only be a cop 6 months and handle it. Others are a cop for 30 years and never have a problem. Everybody's different. It also depends on what you see. If you're a podunk cop in a very small town in the middle of nowhere, you're probably not going to see near the same level of crap as a big city cop.
Yeah.
You and I work in a very large area.
Yeah.
With a lot of people.
A lot of people.
So we see it all. And that's just the virtue where we work. If you work out in West Texas, in some county with population less than 10,000 over a 4,000 square mile county, the majority of the deaths you see are going to be car crashes, probably.
Yeah.
Probably going to be the majority or old age, natural causes. You're not going to see the homicides. You're not going to see the constant suicides and stuff like that. You're just not going to. So, and this does not mean, and I do not belittle those officers that work those small agencies. They're still in every bit as dangerous as we are. You know, there's turds in even those counties too. But I'm sure the difference is they probably know each and every single one of them. Oh, that's Jimmy. We went to high school together. You know?
Yeah.
But the mental health aspect, they've finally gotten smarter over the years with training officers to really focus on that and not be so quick to arrest. You know, the mental health aspect, for those that don't understand what emergency detention is, they have to be a danger to themselves. They have to be a danger to others, or they have to be decompensating. If they're not any of those three, let it go.
Yeah.
In terms of taking them into custody, does not mean you just walk away. If you can help them, help them. If you can get them a resource, get them a resource. If you can get them someone to talk to, get someone to talk to. If you'll voluntarily, like I say, it's a veteran in distress, there's nothing that says you can't voluntarily give them a ride to the VA at all. You did your job, and you can walk away going, well, I got him some kind of help. Now, what he does is on him now. I did what I could. And this is where, remember that proactive, reactive conversation we had a couple shows ago?
Oh, yeah.
Same thing. They don't want to take the 30 minutes it's going to take to load them up in the Tahoe, drive them all the way down to the VA, and then have to come all the way back to your square. You probably got a sergeant, like we talked about. What are you doing? He didn't meet the criteria. Okay, does that make him less of a human and less of attention from us? Okay, I took him to the VA. So what? He got help. Now, if he chooses to leave and do what he does, well, you did what you could, and you can't blame yourself at the end. And we're real good as officers about self-flagellation. We screwed up. Well, sometimes you didn't. Sometimes it just went south. There's the rise of mental health problems, even in teenagers, young teenagers.
Yeah.
Sadly, and this is not the funny, but I've seen kids as young as 13 commit suicide, and it's a heartbreaking thing. And it's like, I have underwear older than you. Like, what could possibly be going on in your life? But I can't judge that. What bothers me may not bother them, and vice versa. You know, I like to think I'm a pretty tough hombre. I've seen some shit, been around the world, you know, in 2 state fairs, and it affects everybody differently. Who knows? 5 years now, it could be me that needs help. And hopefully my agency would be smart enough at that point to recognize that and help me instead of going, man, he's just a slump. He'll be fine. And then chief gets called, hey, he ate a bullet.
Yeah.
Well, wait, what the hell? Are you serious? Well, yeah, but he told you he was having trouble and you said go to work. Yeah, these days, 20 years ago, no one had given a shit. Now, that's probably going to be the end of that chief's career.
It
should be.
Quick.
And it should be. We spend so much time taking care of everyone else in law enforcement that we forget to take care of ourselves. We let our own health go to shit. The 3 things that kill officers: car crashes, health, and gunfire. Those are the 3 things that kill us. And the health is the one thing that we can actually do something about. And we eat horrible food, sleep like crap. We eat on the go because if you're calls for service back to back to back to back to back, you don't have time for a nice, drawn out, healthy meal. You go to the nearest Whataburger, McDonald's, Carl's Jr., whatever. You wolf it down and get the hell out.
Yeah.
Because that may be the only food you're getting all day long. Or, and hell, as a cop, I can hold my bladder now probably 12 hours. Probably going to come back and haunt me 20 years from now when my bladder is leaky because I spent 20 plus years holding it. But we spend so much time taking care of everyone else that we forget to take care of us. And honestly, at the end of the day, your agency is not going to take care of you like you should.
Yeah.
So officers, you got to watch out for each other. Honestly, you got to. If you got the guy that you know, and he's always one way, he's always a jokester, he's always laughing, he's always coming in, he's always being funny, and then all of a sudden you notice a dramatic change in his behaviors, you need to be asking questions. Do not be afraid, man. Are you okay? What is going on? Mm-hmm. You tell me, J-Man. I mean, you deal with the same stuff I do. We probably dealt with the same exact people, and 2 different agencies probably dealt with the same exact people. Mm-hmm. So what are your thoughts on this?
No, it's you're absolutely right. Especially when it comes to checking on the mental health of the people you work with. You always got to be vigilant for criminals, and of course for your brother and your sister in blue.
Absolutely,
because you may be in their mind the only ear that's willing to listen. Mm-hmm. So you really, and that's that just comes with the territory of being a part of the law enforcement community, helping make it better. And in regards to people that we come across just in contacts or just doing the job, same thing. Got to have that patience. You got to have that time to listen to what that person has to say. Now, some of it can sound ridiculous because I've had it before. Talking with somebody, trying to convince them that it is, it's not the end of the world. You don't have to take your own life. Mm-hmm. But then they completely come out of left field with like, do you see that person watching me? I'm like, well, who? The person right there. I'm like, where? There. And it's their own reflection. Now, is that funny? To me, it was in my head, but
you're not going to react.
But I'm not going to react. I'm not going to react. It's just
you want them to trust you. That'll violate that trust.
Yeah, you got to have that patience. Got to have that calm, and just like that wherewithal to just help them understand that there is help out there. That they did the correct thing in calling us, or even causing a scene in public to where we will respond, and then that way we can take them somewhere where they can get that help.
Absolutely. You're 100% right. I had one. He was having a schizophrenic episode. Had been off his meds a while, and we're sitting there talking. And he leaned in close to me, and I leaned back, of course, because you want that safety distance. You know, just he may not be violent, doesn't mean he can't change. And I've seen with mentals, they change. That quick.
Oh yeah,
and they don't show you the pre-assault indicators that normal people do. Mm-hmm. They snap so fast that all of a sudden you're fighting for your life. You see him as a person. He sees you as a fire-breathing dragon. He's not trying to kill you as a police officer. He thinks you're a dragon trying to kill him. You don't know what they're seeing. Mm-hmm. But he leaned in close to me and he said, do you see the guy sitting on your shoulder? And he gave me the chills. And I said, no. He goes, he's right there on your shoulder. Don't look. I said, okay. Sir, when's the last time you took your medication? He's like, I don't take that anymore. Okay. The hardest question we seem to be able to ask is, do you want to hurt yourself? For some reason, we have a hard time asking that question to people instead of just bluntly asking them. And they'll tell you. When they're genuinely suicidal, they will tell you.
Yeah, they will.
But everyone wants to kind of go around that. Like, well, sir, how are you feeling? Law enforcement, we know. Sir, do you want to kill yourself? Do you want to hurt yourself? Yes, I do. Okay. Do you have a plan? Have you thought about a way? Oh, yeah, I'm going to take the gun in my nightstand and shoot myself. Okay. Suicidal ideation has a plan. You're going to the hospital.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And we take the firearm for safety and we put it in the property room.
Yep.
He's not losing his gun. Still his property. We're just going to remove the tool that could do it. But everyone kind of wants to dance around that question. Just ask him.
Yeah.
If he says no, okay, at least you ask the question. But you'd feel pretty stupid if you didn't even bother asking the most basic question and then you leave and they do it.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think it's like an awkward thing in law enforcement to try to ask somebody, and say the words, do you want to hurt yourself? Mm-hmm. Do you want to commit suicide? Do you have thoughts of dying? I think it's just the bluntness and the, I guess I'm going to be, fancy here, the abrasiveness of the actual question.
You're worried they'll take offense.
Yeah.
Instead of, if somebody who's truly suicidal will more than likely actually answer that question and tell you yes. Mm-hmm. And now you have your answer.
Yeah.
That's all you needed.
Yeah.
So, and you stopped it. Mm-hmm. Now, you may not stop it down the road. 6 months later, you may not be on a shift and they do it again. There's nothing you can do about that. You did your job tonight, and that's all you can do.
Yeah.
You can't let yourself feel guilty or angry because you stopped them that night and did it later. That's not up to you anymore.
Yeah.
That's the choice they made. And that's what a lot of cops, we have a tendency to start second guessing ourselves. We put off this exterior like, we're tough and nothing bothers us, and it couldn't be further from the truth. Mm-hmm. We beat ourselves up. We second guess every decision we make. Like, what could I have said different? But at the end of the day, as long as you do your job, you can look yourself in the mirror and go, I did everything I could.
Yeah.
What a person chooses to do is out of my control.
Yeah, it is.
The sooner you realize that, the happier you'll be. The less problems you'll have.
Yeah.
But along with that comes, and I'm going to preach a little bit, fellow officers, have hobbies outside of work. This job is not your entire life.
Yeah.
Have hobbies. Golf, cars, something. Your hobbies should interfere with your job.
Yeah, you shouldn't, you don't want to be getting up and thinking about the next, take all the tickets you could write when you're just driving on the road, which, I mean, I get it. That can happen.
I always see the best ones when I'm off duty. I'm like, oh my God, that's a great one as it goes by.
Yeah, but
to put it more accurately, your job should interfere with your hobbies. Mm-hmm. That's the best way to put that.
Yeah,
he's like, oh man, I missed another golf tournament.
When you're hanging out with your non-law enforcement friends, which I suggest every officer do, have a group of people that are not attached to this job, because sometimes you don't want to talk about, all the people you arrested, the gang members you came across, the guns, all this stuff. Yeah, they make for cool stories, but sometimes you just need to detach. And one way to detach is to have friends that are not in this line of work, because it brings out your other interests, your other hobbies, just as T-Bone said. So,
yeah, find a baseball league, a softball league, racquetball league, find something outside away from this, because you have to learn to separate it, because it is not good for your mental health to constantly this be the only thing you're doing. Mm-hmm. And eventually when you retire, what do you have left? Nothing.
Yeah.
And this is why typically law enforcement officers die 10 years earlier than anyone else when they retire, because their entire identity was built around this job. Mm-hmm. And now they don't have it anymore.
Yep.
And this is why some officers refuse to retire.
Yeah. Oh,
because they're terrified of what will happen to me when I do. I've got nothing else. Instead of, man, I can't wait to hit the fishing hole. I got golf tournaments lined up. I got a hike, and I'm hiking the Appalachian Mountains. That's healthy.
Yeah.
Like, I can't wait to retire because I'm going to do X, Y, Z.
Or instead of the one, officer or deputy that's like 70 years old, clearly you can look the body. The mind is willing, but the body isn't. But they're just still out there, just whatever capacity or role they're in. It's just that's all they have.
They have nothing left. They've been a cop for 40 years or 50 years by this point, and they have nothing else. They're not going to get a chance to enjoy their retirement.
No,
and that is the saddest thing. You should walk out the door and be like, "Ooh, I'll be at the fishing hole tomorrow. Screw everybody here later." And that's a healthy way to look at it.
Yeah.
Folks, like I said, we always try to find the funny. Sometimes we do have to be serious, and this is one of those serious topics because it's affecting too many of our law enforcement brothers and sisters that are not getting the help they need for whatever reason. Either their agency refuses to help them, or the fellow officers ignore it, or that person just doesn't ask for help, but they're crying out for it. You can see it, you're just not paying attention to it.
Yeah.
I don't preach much. I'm going to preach on this one. Pay attention to each other. Pay attention to how they normally act versus how they're acting today. Or if you know they had something pretty traumatic happen to them recently, like reach out to them, make sure they're okay.
Yeah.
It happens all too often, and it's heartbreaking because it can be avoided if we get someone help. Don't be afraid to ask them if they need help. Don't be afraid to ask them what's going on. Are you okay? And don't be afraid to ask them if they want to hurt themselves. You could save their life.
Yeah.
And they're not going to lose their job. They're not going to lose their job if that's what you're worried about. One, there's legal rights that will protect them.
Yeah.
Okay, they'll get them help. They may not be able to carry a gun for a while, and that's probably the healthiest idea. But once they've been cleared that they're okay, they're through it, well, then they'll get their job back. And, maybe there'll be a better appreciation by administrators, to really pay attention to that.
Yeah.
Before they have to go knock on a spouse's door.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine having to do that. I don't want to ever have to do that for a fellow officer. I'd rather get in a firefight with someone way outgunning me than deal with that. At least if they shoot me, it's a short conversation. So, J-Man, you have anything to add on this topic?
No, I think we've discussed a lot of good points, said a lot of things that needed to be said.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Well, brothers and sisters, we're going to close this out, but I want you to have a good week, a safe week. Look out for each other. Look out for yourselves. Pay attention to your surroundings. Ask questions. Be proactive. Do your job. At the end of the day, go home, look yourself in the mirror and say you did everything you could to hold that thin blue line between the predators and the prey. That's our job. So, Jamie, anything to add?
Nope. Everybody have a safe week. Stay safe.
All right, everybody, and we're out. Hey, if you like the show, check us out on Twitter or Instagram. Both are at T-Bone and J-Man. Like, follow, subscribe, send it out to your friends, send it out to your family. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach us there and we'll give you a shout out on the show.